Perfect. Appreciate that, Scott. First off, just want to welcome everybody to our second town hall. A little bit of an initiative that we've become quite excited about here at Lifewater Canada. Just a really good chance for us to talk about some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that are happening around the world. I really especially want to thank Hosea for joining us today, as it is, I believe, midnight in Abuja, Nigeria right now. And he is joining us live from the Lifewater Hygiene Initiative of Nigeria headquarters building. So I do appreciate that, Hosea. Um, Now, I don't think anyone has ever met Hosea before. This is Dr. Hosea Apeh Abalaka. He is a
Balaka.
he is the Dean of the Education Department at the University of Abuja, um, as his full-time job. And he's a husband, a father to triplet sons, and in his spare time, he runs Lifewater Nigeria. Um, so welcome, Hosea. Hosea has become a dear friend of mine through the years, and just really appreciate getting a chance to have a conversation with you here.
Thank you, Dan. I'm happy to be here.
So I guess to start, I think it's probably beneficial that everybody here, the participants in this meeting, just get to know a little bit about Hosea. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good morning from Nigeria. I don't know it's afternoon where you are, but I'm happy to be here and I feel very privileged to be a part of this town hall. I am a Nigerian. I am from North Central Nigeria. I was born in 1977. I grew up in a little village called Oduofugu village. Growing up in that village gave me first-hand experience with water needs in Africa. In my household, we were five kids, three girls and two boys. And I used to be the water carrier for the family because my sisters always found an excuse for not going to the stream to fetch water. So I became the main water carrier for the family. So I had an encounter in the village that exposed me to what water needs were all about. I pursued education as I grew up, and I went to the university, got a degree in biological sciences, and I also went further to acquire further degrees in psychology. Uh, I started pursuing a career in the University of Abuja in 2006, where I have worked in different capacities as head of department, and currently I am the Dean of the Faculty of Education of the University of Abuja in the capital city of Nigeria. I'm married with three kids, like Dan said. I I'm really happy to be here, and I thank everyone for participating in this town hall.
I just want to mention that it's not just three kids, but it's these triplet boys that Hosea has. I can't imagine the handful that he has sometimes balancing his career at the university along with raising these three amazing sons who I have had the privilege of meeting, along with all of the work that Hosea does for Lifewater Canada in as a partner with Lifewater Nigeria. So Hosea, what brought you into water? Why did you choose water?
Uh, Providing water for my nation actually started with my dad, who passed away about 3 years ago. In the early 90s, he had an encounter with an organization, Lifewater, and he was about 35 years of age. I was 13,
And
and he came home with
that was Lifewater International, correct?
Lifewater International, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And he came back with a small rig that I was excited to see as a young person, but I was not part of the team that used it at that time. But I did hear from them that the rig couldn't penetrate deep enough to access water for the communities. So for 10 years, that rig was kept in storage. Uh, in 2000, that's 10 years after now, I had grown, finished from the university, and a team had arrived in Nigeria and wanted to use the rig. And I was drafted as an errand boy to move the rig from storage to the location where it was uh, needed. It was at that point that I had my first encounter with drilling wells and providing water for communities in Africa. Since that time, I have crisscrossed different parts of Nigeria, from the north to the south to the east, trying to provide water for communities that are in need. At some point, we discovered that the rig we had was very limited in its capacity. So we started making effort to build our own rig. When I say we, I'm talking about my dad and I. We took a loan, tried to build a rig to help us provide water for our people. However, we had a very bad experience with building a rig ourselves. We had gotten an engineer, a local engineer, to build one for us. But right from the point of getting a truck for the rig to the point of building a rig, it was always one problem or the other. At the end of the day, we built the rig, we couldn't use it, and we were in debt. So we started making effort to sell off that rig. We spent
When,
one
when
or two
you
years.
when you say, Hosea, that from the day that you began to the day that you ended, you couldn't use the rig, what was the issue with that rig?
When we bought the truck, it's a Bedford truck, we couldn't drive it to Abuja because we had mechanical failures on the way. After
Mm,
spending two nights on the road, we finally towed it to the workshop where the rig was to be built. We
mhm.
built the rig and we tried to test run the rig. When we moved to the fourth site, the engineer told us that we needed the compressor to work with the rig. So we hired one because we didn't have one. We spent 3 days on a particular site and we couldn't get through the formation to get to water.
So
At
the
the end of the
engineer
day,
that designed your rig in the first place, and this is before your partnership with Lifewater Canada, the engineer that designed your rig in the first place knew that you needed a compressor, but didn't tell you in the initial design?
that wasn't part of the plan at all. He just told us that we get a truck, you build a rig for us, and then we can run with it.
Hmm.
But that wasn't what happened at all. So when it failed, he said we could be hiring compressors with it. And every time we needed to work with the rig, we could just hire a compressor from those who had compressor. Back then, there were very few rigs in Nigeria. Not very many people own rigs in Nigeria like we have today. So we had issues running that rig, like I said, and we had to sell it off. In fact, the business of selling the rig was also a big problem because the only person who was willing to buy that rig from us gave us checks that were useless to us because we got to the bank and the bank said they were dot checks. So we kept moving from police station to police station over a few months before we were able to get something out of that rig. It was at that point that I totally gave up on drilling. And I felt like we had tried our best and it wasn't working. So I gave up and gave out some of the equipment that I had to my friends who were still willing to drill. And I said I was going to focus on my family life, focus on my career with the university, and never going back to drilling again.
So that whole
I
time that you
was,
were building the rig and experiencing these problems, you were still pursuing your education and working at the university.
yes. And I was doing some intermittent work with Lifewater Canada too.
Hmm.
That was between
Okay.
2006. So we were doing a few repairs, but it wasn't as consistent as what we are doing today.
Okay. Okay. So when you decided to hang up your boots, as you say, and give away your tools, tell us a little more about that.
The frustration from trying to build a rig that we felt was going to help us to meet the needs of the people. And the fact that it became a serious police case, running from one police station. The guy was running with the money. He was already with the rig, and we didn't see the money. We couldn't use the rig, and we were in debt. So we had to settle for paying debt and not going back to drilling.
Mm. Okay.
Uh, but, but like I
So
said, we were doing a few projects here and there with Lifewater Canada. For about 14 years, we were on and off. We could do one or two projects for 2 months and never do another one again. It was never consistent at all until the year 2020, when I was driving home from work one
So
evening.
just before you move to that, I just want to explain to everybody, um, because at Lifewater Canada, we always have very much seen ourselves as the bridge between the donors and projects. Back in those days, when there was a little bit of extra money, we would get a hold of one of the contacts from Lifewater International, and just with a little bit of extra money that was available, we would offer that Lifewater International contact a few projects, and that was never consistent. It always depended on what the donations looked like, etc. So for that period of time, Hosea and his dad, which was Water Products Limited in Nigeria, they were that Lifewater International contact that we used when there were a little bit of extra funds that we could put to use in the field. Sorry, Hosea, I just thought I'd explain that. Continue.
Thank you. Uh, it was just me driving home from work when Linda called and said someone was going to call you, and his name was Dan, and you need to discuss some things with him. I, coming from where I am coming, I was not expecting anything serious to happen again. But that call that evening became a turning point for us
Mm.
in our journey towards providing water for our communities.
That was a great
Because
phone call, by the way.
yes, yes,
The
that
first time that Hosea and I ever spoke, and I will never forget that um, he hid the excitement in his voice because at that time we were ready to bring on a full-time partner, and that was the offer that was made to Hosea. And I didn't know until years later that uh, he didn't really believe it to be true that he would be coming on as a full-time partner with Lifewater Canada because of the history of a few projects here and a few projects there. Um, but I remember I asked him, you know, is there any chance that you could do 10 wells a month for us for the next couple of months? And we'll start there and then move forward from there. And he's just said, yes, yes, I think we can do that. Sure, we can do that.
I I I I wasn't sure what I was hearing because I I, I was a bit used to being frustrated over the well water projects. So
Hmm.
but it was revisiting a lost dream for me. It was me getting back to the things that I felt I needed to do for my people. And just a
Hmm.
phone call, we're back. I wasn't sure, but I was willing to commence work, and we started working. And over the past 5 years, we've been pretty consistent in the work that we do. Uh, Apart from me as a person becoming more fulfilled as a human being, contributing to my communities, we have been able to raise a team of almost 40 members who are traveling from different parts of Nigeria, uh, providing water, repairing wells, rehabilitating broken wells, and doing all the things that we do.
So in
And some
those
of
very
these
early
guys that work with
days,
us,
in those
Sorry,
very
some of these
early days of
guys,
our full-time partnership, I just want to draw everyone's attention to this green four-door sedan in the background. This was Hosea's personal car, but also the only vehicle that he worked with. None of us in Canada realized this at the time, but that giant stack of bricks came directly out of the trunk of that car. I think he had two guys that were helping him out at that time. And he did all of that just right out of the trunk of his Peugeot while still working for the university full time. I know that Hosea's lectures, etc., he would go to his car, connect to his hotspot on his phone, take off his coveralls, put on his suit jacket, and give a lecture from the driver's seat to his class. And he did that for a long time. And just really quickly before we get into the work of Lifewater Nigeria, Hosea, how does the university feel about the work that you're doing? Because, obviously, the position that you're in at the university, it's not something small. It's not really a part-time thing being, the dean of education, the Department of Education. How does the university feel about all that?
initially it was met with a bit of resistance. The thinking was that I will not have enough time for the work that I do. But there's a kind of shift in the thinking of people in Nigeria today towards entrepreneurship, towards skills development. So I try to communicate to people that this is about skills, providing skills for people, and the university has also benefited from some of our projects. So we, over time, became partners, became friends. The university began to appreciate what we do and are now teaching students to get involved in practical skills beyond the theory that we teach in class. So we are now friends. We are now uh, doing very well.
Yeah.
Not
So now Lifewater Nigeria operates with the full support of the University of Abuja.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
We have close collaboration. Yes, we have
perfect.
drilled some wells in the university campus also.
So that then takes us then to Lifewater Hygiene Initiative of Nigeria. So this is the Nigerian nonprofit that Hosea has since founded. Water Products Limited, which was his father John's company in Nigeria, no longer met the needs of what we were doing on an international basis. So Hosea stepped out, took a chance, and founded Lifewater Hygiene Initiative of Nigeria. This photograph here is a couple of years old. I think there's 25 people in this photo. And you've grown now to how many employees?
40, 41 now.
So approximately 41 employees inside of Lifewater Hygiene Initiative of Nigeria. We really would have preferred that it was just Lifewater Nigeria, but apparently the government ministry felt that that was not clear enough. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's where the hygiene initiative comes from. Um, so 40 employees, 40 families working for Hosea full-time inside of this work, officially registered as a nonprofit NGO, including all of the NGO status and responsibilities that come along with that. Um, and so let's,
Dan, sorry, I was going to
yeah.
say that about some of the staff that we work with. Amongst them, there were those that were suicidal at some point
Hmm.
because they couldn't carry on life. There were marriages that were almost on the verge of breaking. That's through the work that we do now. They're now engaged. The
Mhm.
family is now intact. And many of the lives that you see here have been transformed by the work that we do.
Oh, that's a really interesting point you bring up, Hosea, because we don't often talk about the impact on the people that work for Lifewater Canada partners around the world. And just to understand, most of these countries, the unemployment rate is, 40, 50% or higher. I'm not sure what it is in Nigeria right now, but the last time I checked, it was around 65% unemployment rate, with an even more elevated rate amongst young people, so 18 to 36. Um,
You know, working with the university, I have an idea of the number of students that will graduate yearly,
mhm.
and I can tell you that more than half of them don't get a job, even
Yeah,
4 years after graduating from the university.
yeah,
So the figures that we read in the news may be a bit underreported compared to what is really on ground.
yeah. So, I mean, even if we just assume that we're looking at a minimum 50% unemployment rate, it's very dire situations in a lot of these countries, and people are out on the street, hustling, doing what they can to earn income. But in a lot of cases, uh, it doesn't happen. There's just no income coming in. In a situation like that, it's very easy just to lose hope. And where you go from there, whether you move to crime, whether you move to, some shady business, or as Hosea mentioned, whether you move to the place of being
Suicide.
suicidal or even following through on that. It's really not uncommon in these countries. In fact, the last time I was in Nigeria, there were groups of young people that would just roll boulders out onto the highway. That was their job, was to block traffic, and they would not move that boulder until the driver of the car gave them some kind
Um,
of tip.
yeah,
And that was their job. That's where income comes from. So yeah, one of those really neat ripple effects that we don't often talk about, because we talk about the work of safe water, but giving somebody a purpose in life, giving them something to do, and in this case, something that has such a tremendous impact on the communities that they even live in. I can imagine how that really does return hope. So thanks for bringing that up, Hosea.
thank you, thank you.
So just talking about Lifewater Nigeria, tell us what you do.
Uh, Thank you. That the communities that we serve, beginning with the kids, to the girls, to the women, the story is similar. You have kids who have to wake up as early as 5 a.m. to go with their moms with a bucket just to collect enough water to take a bath in the morning. You have girls who will have to risk their life, sometimes get raped on the way, bitten by snakes. And in recent times, we have issues with terrorism, with banditry. Some of the girls that try to go out to collect water for their families run into the wrong hands. The bandits take them, and then they demand for money from their parents who don't even have enough money to fend for themselves. So the work that we've been doing over the years has been providing water wells for these communities to reduce the number of hours that these girls spend on the road looking for water. Some of them go to school maybe about 11 o'clock because they have to go fetch water for their families, do a few errands in the morning before they go to school. Lifewater Nigeria has been involved in providing water. We've been involved in building toilets. We've been involved in providing hygiene training, menstrual hygiene training for these communities that has changed a lot of lives. If you move to the next slide, I could show you some of the things that we've been doing. Dan, can we see the next slide, please?
The next slide again,
So,
Hosea. Yeah.
okay, no, this is, I can work with this.
Okay.
So, like I said, we save access to clean, safe water. In Nigeria, there are a number of water bodies. These water bodies are usually open to anybody to use, including animals. In some of these village streams that we have encountered, you see cows, goats, drinking from the same water that humans are using to wash and even fetch to the house. So there's been a lot of conflict between the Fulani herders and communities because everybody draws water from the same source. So we have intervened severally in different communities by providing wells, an alternative to communities that is now helping communities to experience less dispute amongst themselves because we are not all running to the same source of water anymore. Then we talk about our sanitation program. We have been at the forefront of the fight against open defecation. There are communities in Nigeria that you will visit that you will not see a toilet at all or a latrine at all. Some of the toilets were the first to be built in some of the communities where we have worked. And that restores dignity. Imagine that an adult will have to run out in the daylight to go to toilet. It can be very embarrassing, but it has been a practice over the years. It's embarrassing, it's unhealthy. And Lifewater Nigeria has done a lot. I'll move to the next slide, please. The statistics here will show that 900 boreholes have been drilled and rehabilitated. I mean, 1,000 has been rehabilitated, and then repairs, over 3,000 repairs has been done. Our
And
repair program
I just
is,
want to point out that this is just since we began full-time partnership in Nigeria, which would have been in November of 2020.
yes,
Yeah, so this is what Hosea and his team have accomplished. 900 boreholes,
yes,
over
digging
a thousand
boreholes.
rehabs, and over 3,000 broken wells. Um, the
I must stop.
staggering thing to me is that impact assessment. Hosea, can you just tell us where that impact assessment comes from, how you gathered that?
Uh, Usually, when we get to a community, if we are, for example, we try to ask the clinics to tell us about the number of deaths that they record over a period of time that is tied to waterborne diseases. We
Mhm.
have those records. So when we provide the wells or when we rehabilitate a broken well, after a few months, we come back to that community to ask questions again from the clinics. What has changed since the last time we came? And we have monitored the change that has taken place over the reduction in number of deaths or the number of admissions in the hospital that's related to waterborne diseases. And we are confident of about 70% reduction in reported waterborne disease cases in the programs, in the areas
So
that we
that
carry out
that's
our
not
programs.
that's not third party anecdotal, walking through a community and being hopeful information. That is actual records, attending the clinics,
Yes,
literally counting hospital records and illness and admission records to see that 70% reduction.
yes.
And what I love about that is Hosea talks about when we're going back to the community, right? It's not just looking at a community and what we hope is going to happen as a result of this project that we're doing, but it's going back and it's confirming with hard data that what we hope will happen is actually happening. That 70% reduction in clinical admission or clinical treatment of waterborne disease. Um, the next one, the sanitation advancements, that one, to me is almost even more shocking. But go
You
ahead.
know, something happens in this community about the toilets. I
Mhm.
said earlier that some of the communities that we visit are seeing the first toilet in their own lifetime. And we have seen that as soon as we build one toilet in a community, you start seeing new toilets springing up here and there in a community where people had never used toilets. So they are now seeing the light that we bring, and we now have people imitating what we are doing. And we are happy with that.
So what's happening is Lifewater Nigeria is going into these communities and they're building latrines. Oftentimes, the very first latrine that a community might have ever seen. And as part of that, there's, sanitation training, et cetera, that goes along with that. Even on a community washroom, there is a maintenance aspect that happens with the training, et cetera, et cetera. But as a direct result of that, you get this next ripple effect where that community is not waiting for Lifewater Nigeria to come back and build another toilet, but not only are they receiving the training on sanitation, receiving the initial toilet and seeing the benefit, but then they're taking it a step further and saying, you know what, we can do this for ourselves too. So even building that first latrine in a community is producing some, empowerment in a group of people where they say, we can continue this, we can do this on our own. And they're covering their own communities as a result of our initial work.
So there's a kind of healthy competition to build toilets in these communities now.
Yeah, which is excellent. But
Yeah.
that is equaling a reduction in open defecation by 60%.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, which is amazing. So moving on to the hygiene promotion, we do have to move just a little bit faster here, Hosea.
Okay. Uh, we when we started this program, we were not really doing health and hygiene campaigns. We just drill and move out. And I think it was after I got a report sometime that when you provide water for a community and you don't train them as far as health and hygiene is concerned, you have actually achieved nothing because the habits that the communities have not changed. So we launched a massive campaign, moving from one village to the other with our team of staff members. We Every rehabilitation we do a training, every assessment we do a training, every new well there's a training, so that the community will know how to interact with the new facility that we have brought to them. And the training has been received massively among this community. We have also gone into the wash clubs. Uh, Here we are interacting with schools. And these young children in these schools have a way of running with every message that you give to them, they spread it like wildfire. As soon as they hear that this is how to dress, this is how to take care of your hair, the news is like broadcasting an information. They spread it around the community. So they are working like a change agent for the community. So we are focusing our attention on the school wash clubs because they are propagating, transferring this information that we are sending to them at a very fast rate, faster than we can do ourselves.
Mm.
And the assessment and evaluation programs has been very, very helpful to us. Before now, we may not actually know the needs of a community before we initiate a program. But with the assessment and evaluation program, we're able to assess a community need months before we launch any project. So we are clear about the needs of the community. We know what water points are available. We know what new water points need to be introduced. We know where toilets don't exist at all. We know where the critical areas of needs are. So the assessment and evaluation has helped us to be on target as far as addressing the needs of these communities. So we are very happy with that program too.
And the purpose of all of these things is that, when somebody knows better, they can do better, right? So providing that education, as you say here, is really about creating behavioral change. Yeah, excellent.
Dan, Jose, we just have a question. I'm not sure if you have a picture coming up. Just you kind of describe the toilets, the latrines that you guys are building.
I can definitely pull one up while Jose is talking on this next slide. Absolutely, I will do that. But Lisa, to answer the question, Hosea does pumpable pit latrines. I'm correct on that one, Hosea, right? I'm not getting you confused. Yeah.
No.
So Hosea does pumpable pit latrines. So they're set up for cleanouts. So
Yeah.
the vacuum trucks can come in and clean them out once they're full. And I think your average depth on one of those, I think you're digging to about 15 to 18 feet.
Mm.
Yeah, 15 to
Yes.
18 feet, and they're two-seat latrines. So a men's side, a ladies' side, 15 feet with a pumpable clean out on them. Nigeria does have some laws surrounding, what an outhouse, sorry, not an outhouse, a washroom needs to look like, and what the ultimate destination of human waste needs to be. So that does eventually go to a treatment facility once the the septic, I guess we would call it. So Hosea
Treatment,
does
yeah.
a lined septic tank, a lined
Yes.
and sealed septic tank, 15 to 18 feet deep. That covers the footprint of the outhouse itself or the washroom itself with a pumpable clean out.
Trials.
And then it's also vented as well, right? Vented above ceiling level. Yeah. So I'll pull up a picture of that here and I will put it on the slide while Hosea is talking on this next one,
Okay.
which are his milestones, different things that they have accomplished as Lifewater Nigeria over the last nearly 5 years.
Like I said initially, we began this new phase of the work with a bit of reservation. But every reservation that we had initially has been debunked totally. Initially, we had to run around different parts of Nigeria looking for pumps, and we couldn't get pumps from one location. You couldn't get all pump parts from one location. So at some point, we started shipping pumps from India. So now we have a container of pump that arrives at our compound, and when we want to go to work, we have everything intact. Instead of running from one market to the other, we used to spend almost a whole week shopping for supplies in the past, but now we have our pumps in storage. We can actually go out and do the work that we need to do at any time that we want to do. And then we are also able to build our office facility, which gives us a sense of uh, we feel settled. We feel like we have a place to return to when we close from work. We had our equipment vandalized in the past, but now we have a secured facility where everything that we have is preserved. And we are happy to have an office to go to and call it our workplace. And we have been able to train with other organizations. Like I have been to Kenya, I've been to Liberia, on account of the work that we do. And relating with our sister organizations in Africa, like that has helped us to learn from them and interact with them. And above all,
Before you go on to point number 4, I'm just going to bounce
yes,
back a few slides so that we can show kind of a typical latrine. So this one is nearing completion. And I chose this photo just because it shows the septic tank. So this is the cover of the septic tank. So all of the human waste out of this 2-stall latrine, which the doors are on the other side of, comes into this lined septic tank, which is pumpable and vented. So hopefully that answers the question. All right, Hosea.
okay. Our problem over the years has been having a rig that can go to where the water is, that can go beyond the difficult rocks. Uh, when Dan saw the idea of getting a rig for Nigeria, I was very excited because that's all that I have been looking forward to having. So
Which,
when quoting
by
and
the
Dan,
way, Hosea's response to building a rig in Nigeria was exactly the same as his response to doing a few projects for us to begin. Yeah, we can do that. That's good. He didn't want to show his excitement very much.
yes, because I know the price of rigs. And I didn't know that they are going to build something that was not as expensive as what it is in the market, but was doing the job that what the bigger rigs were doing. So what we have now is a sleek, strong rig that is going to where other rigs cannot go. The big rigs that we used to hire in the past will stop at some locations and tell us, no more, we're not going to that village. We will sink. But we have a rig today that goes wherever we want it to go. And sometimes we just finish a hole in one day and we're back to the office. Uh, Shortly after that,
And
and
you've had some of those companies come back to you and ask you about, blueprints or you doing work for them now, right?
when we got our rig, they came around and said, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. I said, don't worry, we'll manage it. We'll be good with it. And we've never gone back to them for any other work. So they come around and say, how this your rig is strong. This rig is strong. I say, yes, it's very strong. So they are impressed with the kind of rig that we have. And I'm sure that if they have the opportunity, they will also want to have what we have today.
Hmm.
But then after you left, we were able to pull the old rig that we used to have from storage, refurbish it, put it on the truck, and now we have two rigs. So from the remnants of the old rig, we were able to work with the training that we received while you were with us in Nigeria. And now we can run around with two rigs to every location that we need to go. Of
That's
course,
been a really important kind of priority of Lifewater Canada right from the beginning is training local people to work locally. So, really with that rig, and for those of you that know or don't know, this is the Nigerian rig. That was the second one of the LS 300 based truck mounted rigs that we did. Exactly like the first one that we built in Kenya to work in Kitui County. But what we do is we take as many local components as possible, as much local product as possible, and then we assemble the drilling team, the men and women that will actually be operating the machine itself, and we build it together. Right, so they learn welding and fabrication and manufacture and problem solving. They learn that everything is hot and don't burn
got
yourself.
burned several times.
Right, and doing things like that. So we were able to put that rig into service. Very happy with that. But what made us actually even happier as Lifewater Canada was finding out a couple of months later, and Hosea did this without talking to us, without anything, is he actually took his dad's old rig out of storage, the one that didn't work, that couldn't penetrate, that his dad had parked all of those years ago. And he and his team, using the skills that were taught when we were there putting together the first rig, they turned that machine into a second truck mounted rig and modified it and made it capable of drilling in the Nigerian communities that they need to be working in. I think that was just a really special testament for so many different reasons.
We were happy to bring that rig back to life. We
Mm.
named it John after my dad. So we have plans for that rig. We are sending it somewhere very soon where it will work for over 2 months. And we are hoping that many of the communities in that area will be served fully before we return, because we want to face a particular region and see how far we can go with providing water for those communities before we come back.
That's excellent, Hosea. All right, so moving on to some of the other milestones.
Okay. Recently, we started the Dignity Kids program. We have a big problem in communities in Nigeria where young girls are taken advantage of by older men. We call it sex for parts thing, where girls are lured into sexual relation because they cannot afford parts. Some of the girls in the rural communities where we work, use rags, use towels, use all kinds of things when they are having the menstrual cycle. But with the dignity kits, we are able to provide an alternative, and is really receiving attention. Many of the communities are now asking us, how do you get this? How do we get this? In fact, the calls are becoming too frequent since we started the dignity kits program. And we are still running with that, and we want to go as far as we can go to discourage the sex for parts syndrome that is very popular in rural areas in Nigeria. And recently, too, we also expanded by setting up a new team for our assessment and education program. That team operates in Kogi, going down towards Benue State, North Central Nigeria too. And their goal is to do hygiene and sanitation training for these communities and assess their needs, collect data on the needs of this community that will help us to plan for any future expansion that we hope to commence.
And then
And
part
of
of
course,
that
I spoke.
expansion is with the school clubs, correct? That's where you're looking
Yeah,
at really pushing that out and looking at the next generation as far as where the real change is going to come from.
yes, the clubs are very, very pivotal as
Mhm.
far as achieving our goals, because those kids, they run with good messages.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay,
And
challenges that we have.
this is a big one. I talk to people about things like this all the time, Hosea, and honestly, you know, some of the stories and some of the experiences are unbelievable as far as what are the challenges to Lifewater Nigeria. What do you have to overcome in order to do the work that you do?
The first critical issue is navigating the terrain. Many of the access points to these communities are not roads at all, they are bush paths. Some of the roads were created by graders, by big trucks that just went in there to haul something and people turned it to a road. So it's always difficult to access this community. But we have a rig that it was done that made me to believe in the four-wheel drive thing if I had never had that consciousness before. That we want a rig that can go anywhere, and our rig goes anywhere, goes through any terrain at all. We hope to, I told him recently that I'm going for more of this kind of trucks, not the ones that I used to go for in the
Mm.
past. We also have a big problem with security in Nigeria. Maybe this is all over the world anyway. But we have peculiar cases where communities are attacked, houses burned. Sometimes you don't even know what the conflict situation is all about. Our own staff have been caught in between two communities fighting before, two warring factions in the past. And we managed to escape. But it
You
can be
had to
threatening.
leave your equipment set up where it was and run into the bush.
Yes. Once you hear guns, you cannot keep equipment. You just run away first and hope that dies down, then you come back for your equipment. But
Mm.
thankfully, the communities uh, form small security groups called vigilante groups that protect our own equipment for us. So we have that community support from the community. Each time we're working in the community, they give us boys who protect our equipment to make sure that we don't run into problems with bandits and the terrorists that
Yeah.
operate in the area.
So one of the other black market jobs in Nigeria is kidnapping for ransom.
Yeah.
Take somebody off the road that appears like they, may have some money or know somebody with the money, and you just demand ransom. And Jose has actually had staff members kidnapped in Nigeria. So the security is a very, very serious thing for him and his entire team. So talking about moving forward, Hosea, we're always talking about sustainable impact, and what are the next steps as far as you see them?
Uh, to keep expanding our impact, we want to do more than we're doing. We know that the needs are deeper in the, is far from the city. The need for water is not close to the city at all. The communities that are in need are deep in the interior. And our goal is to reach to these communities. As a matter of fact, we are thinking of going beyond the borders of Nigeria if uh, we have the support that we pray to have. So we are thinking of going beyond the north central part of Nigeria, going beyond where we work right now to meet the needs of more communities. And we are also thinking
Right now, you're working in 5 states inside of Nigeria.
Yes.
So the goal is to cover every state in Nigeria and then move beyond the borders.
Yes, at least the nations that are bordering Nigeria, we should be able to reach out to them also.
Okay.
That's our hope. And we are also really partnering with communities to ensure that they are not just recipients of this grace, these gifts, and not getting involved in the projects that we do. So each time we carry out a project, we ensure that a member of the community is trained. We give them tools that they can do simple repairs on their pumps. That way, the community own the projects that we have initiated so that it doesn't become something that is abandoned. We have a serious issue with abandoned projects in Nigeria when the communities don't own the projects. With our partnership with the communities, we leave the projects behind as their projects initiated by us. And that is something that we really want to push so that the communities will maintain the projects that we have been able to put in their communities.
Oh, that's fantastic, Hosea.
Thank you. So I don't know how to conclude other than to say that we are privileged to be at the physical part of the work. We are doing the field work, but we are most thankful to those that enable us to achieve all that we achieve, because there's nothing we could do without the support that we get. So as I conclude, I want to thank those of us who are supporting massively to empower our organization, to empower us as individuals to contribute the little that we can contribute to helping our own people. It is making an impact. People's lives are being changed. Lives are being touched. There is no doubt about it that people have been changed. Girls live happier lives. Women live healthier lives. Children are now happier kids because of what you are helping us to do. I want to really thank you very much for this, and thank Dan and the Lifewater Canada team for the support that we get constantly from them. Thank you.
That thanks is a two-way street, Hosea. You are an absolute privilege to be able to work with.
Yes. Thank you.
So at that, I am going to turn it over to Scott. I believe the recorded portion is done. And Scott, I'll give it to you.